Yo, what's going on? In this video, I'm going to be sharing my review for Hitman 2 on the PS4 and letting you know whether it is worth the price. So stay tuned.
It's been a cold winter and it's lasted far too long.
Yo, what's going on? I'm Jay Carter from growonyoutube.com, teaching you how to be better. And first of all, I just want to let you know that if you want to play games with me and join a community of mature PS4 gamers, then you can go to patreon.com/jcarteray. That helps support the channel and helps me build this community of mature gamers where we can get together and play games. So that out of the way, let's get into the review. First of all, let's start off with my experience. Now, I have played pretty much all Hitman games from Hitman 2 onwards. I didn't play Hitman 1 because that was a PC exclusive. I have reviewed the last Hitman game, which was Hitman Season 1. It was like a soft reboot of the series. It came out episodically. I will link that in the card above because Hitman 2 is very similar to Hitman 1. So you'll probably want to watch that review in order to kind of gain some context in what is going to be going on in Hitman 2 basically. Also, I didn't even know that Hitman 2 was coming out until about a month before it released. I did get a code from WB Games, so thank you to Warner Brothers for that. I really appreciate it. I'm a big fan of the Hitman series and I was really excited to play this game. So that's my experience. Let's get into the story. Now, the story in this game is mediocre. It's not interesting. It's mildly interesting at best. The actual story is okay at best, like the actual writing and stuff. The cutscenes in the story in this game are just static images with no moving scenes. So that makes the story even more boring. Now, these cutscenes may be due to development issues because there were actual cutscenes in Hitman 1. I had to go back to actually check to see, was this always a thing? Is this just what they're doing? It looks like concept footage, kind of like if you played Metal Gear Solid 5 and you saw like the unreleased chapters and stuff like that, and you saw the concept of what the cutscene was going to be. That's what these cutscenes look like in this game. Now, there were some development issues. Square Enix dropped IO Interactive, who are the developers of the game, and then they were picked up by WB Games, luckily, who then released the game. So there were some issues, so that may have caused the cutscenes to come out terribly, but it is what it is. It is what it is. If you're coming into this game because you're expecting a great story, then you're going to be disappointed. Hitman really isn't about coming in and having the best story. It's about having fun in the missions, which we'll talk about when we get into the gameplay section. But the story's use of Illuminati type shadow organizations is dry and cliche. Like, they did it in season 1, they're doing it again in season 2. It's just not compelling enough. I just don't care. The story surrounding each target, however, is good enough that it adds to the gameplay. I do like the story around each target and around each mission, but the overall story is just dead in my opinion. The cutscenes for the targets are even way more interesting. They use in-game footage, so it's not as flashy as the Hitman Season 1, but it's way better than the stiff story cutscenes. Like, it's just way better. So let's get into gameplay. So this is the basic gameplay loop for Hitman 2. You get a really large level. You have 2 targets that need to be killed, and you can go in there and do whatever you want in order to get those targets killed. You can wear a bunch of disguises to get really close. You can find different mission stories, which I'll be talking about, which basically walk you through a story in the specific mission around that specific target that usually ends in their death. But you'll be tasked with hiding bodies, sneaking past people, all that sort of stuff. It's a stealth game. You get put into a big, large sandbox and told, okay, make sure those people die. You can do it however you want, but the game is clearly geared towards you doing it stealthily. And of course, the best way to play the game, the way that the game is meant to be played, is to get in and get out without anyone seeing you, without anyone even noticing that you were there. No witnesses, no recordings, no cameras seeing you, all that sort of stuff. So that's the basic premise of the game. Let's get into a little bit more of the gameplay. The gameplay is pretty similar to Hitman 1. There are a few new additions. For example, they added the picture-in-picture camera, which basically shows you when certain things are happening. For example, if a target dies, or if a body is found, or if someone's investigating a suspicious activity, then it will show them, or a distraction, not necessarily a suspicious activity. It will show what's going on in the top left hand corner, so you can kind of be more aware. I do believe that this feature was in previous games, especially I do kind of remember it in Blood Money, but don't quote me on that. I'm not 100% sure. It just seems like they're getting back to level standard, really. Like it's there aren't big leaps forward in this game. It's more Hitman Season 1. And I think they did Hitman Season 1 well enough that it's okay that this game isn't that different. They didn't need to really reiterate. But playing the actual game, moving around as Hitman 47, maneuvering and all that sort of stuff is fairly smooth. The cover system could do with a little bit more work, but it's fairly fine. The game also has the same tutorial level as Hitman 1. Now, there is a specific tutorial level in this game that when you boot up the game, it pushes you into that tutorial level, and it's kind of like a mission, but I don't count it as one. And after that, they tell you to play the tutorial from Hitman Season 1, which is a little bit weird. I would have thought that they would have added a new tutorial level, but again, this just seems like it's Hitman Season 2 without it being released in episodic structure, and we'll talk a little bit more about that a little while down. But that's how I perceive this. It's mainly new missions, new content, and that sort of stuff, not exactly new features. Although I don't know, there weren't many gameplay features in Hitman Season 1 that I was like, oh, this needs to get taken out and they need to improve on this. So they didn't really need to add new features. The opportunities feature from Hitman Season 1 has now been changed into mission stories, which makes a lot of sense because they are actually mission stories when you play this game. There is an option to limit the information given to you for mission stories, and I highly recommend doing that because the mission stories make the game very easy when turned fully on. They usually get you into a room with the target, and some lead to the target even being killed, but they give you like waypoints and tell you exactly where to go. So it makes it more like a linear game if you play with these mission stories on. Of course, you don't have to follow the waypoints and stuff when you've got those mission stories on, but when I had it fully on, it just psychologically made me just go from point to point, and it made the game feel more restrictive, even though it's not restrictive. Like, you can do whatever you want, but if you're following these mission stories, then you feel like, okay, I've got to do this right in order to get the story done. And I would suggest turning that off so that it makes it a little bit more difficult for you and you kind of find things. When I was playing the game, at first I had mission stories on, and then I turned them to limited or low, whatever the option is, that allows you to see less of the stuff but gives you basic hints on what you need to do, and I just enjoyed it way more. I did many kills with the mission stories, and I did some kills without following the mission story, and I just did whatever I wanted, and I had a lot of fun doing that. The game generally felt more rewarding when I found different assassination opportunities and just did things myself in the cleanest way I could. But the mission stories were interesting, and they actually added to the narrative, so they're worth doing regardless. Actually, when you finish a mission, it actually tells you, you know, you didn't complete these mission stories. You should replay the mission to complete these mission stories in order to experience the full narrative of the mission. So they're definitely worth doing, and there's a lot of great voice acting, a lot of interesting story moments and interesting things that you can do through these mission stories. So I wouldn't say ignore them. but maybe on your first playthrough, use them, and then use them sparingly and turn the option down a little bit so you don't have to see everything go from point to point, so it makes the game a little bit more interesting. Now, the game is always online. Again, I didn't talk about that in the last review, and that was brought up in the comment section, so I just wanted to mention that. If you try to play the game offline, you won't have access to any of your unlocks, but you can still play missions. Now, this would be super annoying to anyone who doesn't have internet. Like, this is going to be terrible for you. For me, it wasn't that bad. There was a point where I actually did not have internet. Like, my internet went down for a little while, so that was annoying because I couldn't play the game. But there was also another situation where I was unable to use my save file, and because the game is always online and it just saves all your stuff to the server, I was able to just continue with the game. So there are pros and cons to the game being continually online, but I know that people will be upset that this is a single player game, mainly single player game, and you always need to be connected to the internet, and that can be a little pet peeve. Another addition they've added to the game is you can now blend into bushes and crowds, and this really aids stealth. I really like this. I think it's a really cool feature. The fact that you can blend into bushes and crowds gives you a lot more opportunity when you're moving around in the actual levels, because you don't have to always hide behind cover. You can see, okay, there's some bushes over there, let me quickly get into there. You can also hide bodies in bushes. I don't think you can hide bodies in crowds. I haven't tried that, but it adds to the stealth of the game, and it gives you more options. It aids the stealth and gives you more opportunities to do what you want in the game, and it frees you up a little bit. It does kind of make the game a little bit easier though, so you don't have to use it if you don't want to, but I think it was a good addition. And in what other game can you knock a guy out by throwing a brick of cocaine at them? Like, this is the only game that I've ever been able to do that, and that's the type of stuff that you can expect in this game. Agent 47, the guy you play as, is like Bullseye from Daredevil in this game. Not in terms of character, but in terms of gameplay, because a bunch of weird, inconspicuous items can be turned into a weapon, and it's hilarious. Like, throwing a brick of cocaine at someone is hilarious. Throwing a soda can at someone is hilarious. You can knock them out by throwing a soda can at them. Is it realistic? No, but it's funny and it's fun, and I love that aspect to the gameplay. Now, in the game, you play as Agent 47. Of course, he is I don't know what the storyline is in this soft reboot, but as far as I know, he is a guy with enhanced senses who is just great at assassinating people, and he has basically no emotions when it comes to killing and that sort of stuff. So that's who you're playing as, and you can have a lot of fun within the shoes of Agent 47, and I definitely did. As you replay missions and learn the map, you start to feel like an assassin with a sixth sense. So the better you get at the game, the more you actually feel like Agent 47. You learn guard routes, target paths, where to find equipment, and more. The first time you play a map, it can take over an hour to complete. It generally took me an hour or above to complete a mission the first time, but I was doing a lot of saving and reloading, trial and error, plus I was trying to be a silent, clean assassin. That was probably not the best approach for the first time playing a mission. You should treat the first playthrough as recon. You're scoping out the map, learning the guard paths, target paths, and different locations of things. The more knowledge you have, the better assassin you can be, and the smoother kills you can accomplish. There is the kind of option to try and go guns blazing or just be a little bit more messy, but the game, this is a stealth game. You are supposed to play stealthily. If you do not play stealthily, you will see that reflected in the score, and it's just going to be a mediocre game for you. If you try to play this game like an action game, you're not going to, it's not built for that, man. You're not going to have fun. It's not built for that. I mean, you might have fun, but it's not built for that. Let me say that again. Each mission has about 3 mission stories that tell the main narrative of the targets. You can only complete 2 mission stories in your playthrough, as you usually get 2 targets. This further enforces the fact that missions are meant to be replayed, and even after you complete a mission, it will remind you that you should replay it to see all the mission stories. So this rarely is for people who are willing to replay the same mission and try different things and all that sort of stuff. And it is actually fun to do that, because just going through the game or going through the mission once, you actually miss a bunch of content in these levels. So you actually want to go back and see what you missed and see what other opportunities there were for you, and try and come up with other plans to kill your target. There are only 5 main missions in this game though. There's 6 if you count the tutorial mission that some people like to count that begins the game, but I don't count that because that's not a real mission. Like, let's be real. There are at least 2 targets in each mission, so you can kind of count this as like 10 missions. And the maps rarely could have been split into 2 missions, to be honest. There are different challenges, things to find, and opportunities to kill your target. You are definitely supposed to play these missions more than once, as I said before, to see all the different ways to kill your target and to experience the full story of the target. You need to replay these missions. I replayed the Miami mission a few times, but I only played through the other levels once for this review, because I wanted to get through the story, get through all the missions, and let you know whether it was worth the price. The game seems like it was going to be released in an episodic format. It's set up exactly the same as Hitman Season 1, and you can play any mission or cutscene you want before actually completing the prior missions. Now, when you do try to do this, a warning does come up on screen and tells you, yo, spoiler warning, this is going to be a spoiler if you watch this or if you play this mission. And when you're scrolling through the missions in the menu, it says you should complete the prior mission before completing this. So that is effectively communicated, but you could actually spoil the ending for yourself. But honestly, the story spoils itself with all the Illuminati BS. Like, the story is not even worth paying attention to that much unless you really care. I mean, I watched every cutscene and it was okay, but that's not the reason that I like this game. I'm still disappointed that they haven't added a currency and customization system into the game. I think you should get paid depending on how well you do in a mission, and then you can spend that money on the unlocks and customizing your weapons. It's a small change to the unlock system that just makes you feel more like an assassin taking contracts. You should also earn money when repeating missions, and it should basically be a substitute for the map mastery mechanic in the game. The map mastery mechanic unlocks weapons, items, starting points for the mission, and more. You can unlock these by completing challenges and gaining XP, which could easily be substituted for dollar signs. Like, change the XP into dollars. That's so easy. Some crowds just stand there doing nothing, so it can take away from the immersion, but it doesn't hurt the experience. For me, there are a bunch of crowds in these levels, and you know, it's great stuff. The crowds don't look bad. Like, I've never looked in a crowd and be like, okay, that's a repeat guy, or that's a repeat guy. Probably because I wasn't really paying that much attention. Like, the crowds are done pretty well, but sometimes, especially I found in the India map, I just saw a bunch of people standing there doing nothing, not moving or anything. I haven't seen that since I've played other levels, but that was something that happened, and I assume it may happen many times throughout the game, so it may hurt your immersion. But honestly, I play this game for the fun sandbox murderings. I don't play it to be immersed in the footsteps of Agent 47, so I don't really mind. The menus are very slow at times, which is disappointing. I believe this is because they have to connect to the server, and you know, if your internet is moving slow, then the menus are going to move slow. I wish there was a quick save option where I didn't have to enter a menu. It can take upwards of 30 seconds to save the game sometimes. And this is a game based on trial and error, based on looking around the level, finding stuff, seeing what happens, saving, reloading that save after you try something out that didn't work, and continuing like that until you know what works and what doesn't. So a quick save option seems like a no-brainer, and I don't think I don't know if I've seen a quick save option on console at any point. I think there might have been, like, I'm unsure if there's ever been a thing. Please let me know in the comment section down below. That's very interesting. Playing with the game systems and learning how far you can go before people start shooting you is very fun, and you get better at sneakily assassinating people the more you play and engage with the game systems. For example, early on in the game, I exclusively used thrown items to knock people out, and that was it. Then I watched a YouTube video from a few guys who are much better at the game than me, and I saw they were using thrown objects as distractions, which it clearly tells you to do in the loading screen. And I just wasn't doing that. And they were leaving guns on the floor to get guys to leave the area and open up better opportunities. Because basically, when you leave a gun on the floor, a guard will pick it up and then take it to some sort of safe space, I think. I've never actually followed them at this point. But the point is, it's enjoyable to get better at the game and to use your brain to solve puzzles that result in someone's untimely death. It's a very fun experience, and it's a bit of an experience where you have to think. I remember there was one mission, I think it was the last mission, where I was trying to get rid of the security footage in a security room because I had been captured by the cameras on the level, and I saved and reloaded a bunch of times in order to find out what was actually going to work. I tried distractions, I tried many things, until finally I used a flashbang, and that's what worked in order to basically stop people from seeing me destroy all the security footage. And they exited the room after that, which was annoying because I could have just waited for them to do that, but I destroyed the security footage while they were all stunned. But it's very interesting because as you learn the different systems, you learn what kind of things can work, and then you get better at the game, and then you are able to use those systems to your advantage to create the opportunities that you want. So that's gameplay. Let's get into graphics and sound. The graphics in this game are decent. They're not mind-blowing, but they're not bad. They're more than good enough, and I have no complaints except about the whack cutscenes. The voice acting was also very good, and people are always having conversations around you, which can help you with your mission and add to the storytelling of each mission. And it's quite a nice experience, although I think replaying the missions, that might get a little bit annoying. But of course, when you replay the missions, you don't have to stand around and listen to what people are saying, so maybe it doesn't get too annoying. It didn't get annoying when I was playing the Miami mission, and I played that like 5 times, so that's that. Agent 47 is also always making murder innuendos anytime he has the chance to speak, which I don't know if I love or hate. And this generally happens like when you're going through mission stories and targets are talking to you. He'll say something like, well, you know, this is a very large room, 2 easy to reach exits. You know, stuff like that. Stuff to let you know, yeah, he's thinking about killing this person. But that's basically all I got for graphics and sound. The graphics are good. The sound is good. That's that. The music was cool. You know, I'm not really a person that gets really deep into graphics and sound. I just skim over it, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to get into the modes. So there are a few modes in this game. Obviously, there's a story, which we've already talked about, but we're not going to talk about that mode. We're going to talk about the other additional modes that are added to the game. My favorite mode is the elusive targets. That is a event type thing that happens, it seems, I'm not sure if it's going to happen once a month or twice a month, but they basically release new targets. They release new stories around the targets. They also have a cutscene around that target. Oh, I also wanted to note that the actual cutscenes before the missions where you watch the information about the targets, I really like that, and I think that's a great addition. And those cutscenes are just way better than the other cutscenes in the game. But the elusive targets just give you a new target on a old map generally. So if you've played the map a few times, then you'll have gotten good at that map and you'll be able to complete these targets even better. But the targets don't show up on the map. They don't show up in red as they usually do when you're playing the normal game. So you kind of got to be a little more on your game. If you kill the target then you're not able to restart the mission past that point. And if you die, you're not able to restart the mission and try it again. So basically, you can continually restart as long as you don't kill the target or die. And then after you do that, you need to get out. Like after you kill the target, you need to get out. And if you die, then you need to get out because you just died. You're getting out of the mission. Try next time, you failed. And basically it adds a lot of pressure on you. It makes the game way more tense. You also can't save, so you can't save and try something and then load. You kind of just gotta do things where you're certain. Otherwise, you know, if you get yourself into a gunfight and you get murdered, then you really mess yourself over. So I like this mode. I really like this mode. And I don't know how often they're going to be releasing elusive targets, but I will be coming back every time an elusive target is released because I really enjoy the concept behind it, and I enjoy assassinating new people in these maps. I think it's a really great thing. And they also add new assets to the maps. They add new things. They add new routes and all that sort of stuff. So it's like playing a new mission basically. Now, there are a few other modes which I'll briefly go over, but I wasn't interested in these modes at all, so I didn't play them. So I'm not going to lie. I didn't want to force myself to play modes that I wasn't interested in for the sake of the review, so I didn't, basically. There's the Sniper Assassin mode, which I guess you play as a sniper, and I think it's co-op as well. There's the contracts mode, which allows you to create contracts or take contracts from other online people, where they'll basically mark someone that you need to kill in a level. Maybe there are restrictions on how you need to kill them, what you need to be wearing in order to do it, and you just go and do that. It's basically like challenges. That's what it is. It's a challenge mode, basically. You challenge people. Oh, can you kill this guy with this using that there? Basically, like that's contracts mode in a nutshell. Not something I really care too much about. I may go back and play it. Ghost mode is another multiplayer addition to this game, which is basically kind of like contracts mode. I believe random people in the map are chosen to be targets, and then you have to basically take out the target before your opponent does. Your opponent is kind of a ghost in the level. You can see what they're doing, but you cannot really affect them too much. So you just need to be better at the game than they are, and you need to go and kill the people before they do, and you get points and stuff. And I didn't play it, so can't really say more about that. I do want to quickly talk about how they could have added a better multiplayer mode and kind of talk about the story again. Now, one of the really bad things about the story was that it focuses on this Illuminati-esque type deal, and I just don't think that was a good idea. I think a previous type of storyline that they could have brought back was the thought of two opposing agencies, like you playing as Agent 47 with ICA, and then there's another assassin agency who maybe you have some missions to take out one of their operatives, or you know, that sort of stuff. That could also spawn a multiplayer mode where it makes sense in the context of Hitman for you to actually play with other people. But again, this game seems like the development was cut short, or they had to rush certain things and they couldn't add things and make things as large and expansive as they wanted it to be. So maybe we could expect something where you can actually interact with other people in the next game. But I do feel like the storyline that they're going with needs to be nixed. Please just give us a reason to go out and kill people, which is basically, we just need to be a hitman. We don't need more than that. And then give us opposing agency or something, so we've got a villain as well. I think that will just be way better, because then you want to be competitive, you want to be a better assassin, and maybe there's a mission where you're going to assassinate someone and there's another assassin trying to assassinate them, and you've got to assassinate that guy first before they assassinate your target. or well, if your target's an if your target's gonna get assassinated, then it really doesn't matter. But there was a mission in Blood Money where you had to prevent an assassination by killing 2 assassins. I think stuff like that could come into play and could make a good return, and just move away from the Illuminati stuff and move more towards the corporate murder. I think corporate murder and the competition of 2 opposing agencies is just more compelling, more interesting, and better for gameplay. So is it worth the price? Let's get into that. Hitman 2 is $39.99 on Amazon, so it's not a full price game. It's not $49.99 like most games. It's $39.99 on Amazon, and I had a lot of fun with the game. I'm excited to jump back into it to replay missions and for the elusive targets especially. I played for about 15 hours for this review, but that's because I wanted to get through the game and give you a comprehensive review. I wouldn't recommend just playing through each mission once like I did, apart from Miami. The game is clearly meant for you to replay missions, and you will have many hours of fun doing that and discovering new things in old environments. If you bought Hitman Season 1, then you can actually play those missions in this game, which is a great addition, or you can get it for an extra £16. If you're looking for a stealth game and you're cool with replaying maps to learn them and get better at the game, then you'll love this, as it's definitely worth the price, and there's no other stealth games on the market. Oh my god, where are the stealth games, people? Where are the AAA stealth games? Gone. Let me know if you know of any good stealth games in the comment section down below, because I really like stealth games, but wow, it's a drought. It is a big drought. If you're not a Hitman fan but you're into stealth games, then you should buy Hitman Season 1 first, as you can get it really cheaply. If you haven't played Hitman Season 1, you should definitely play that first, because it's a cheaper buy into the franchise. Then you can just upgrade to Hitman 2 and you can play all the missions on Hitman 2. If you don't like stealth games and you want a great single player story game, this is not for you. Don't even bother, mate. If you like the sound of this game and you're planning to buy it, then please use the link on the screen. Go to jcarteray.com/Hitman2. It really helps out. The link will also be in the description at no extra cost to you. It helps out the channel. I get a small commission from it. And yeah, please use that link. So now I'm going to give you some pros and cons so you can make the decision for yourself whether it is worth the price or not. Pros: there's a fun stealth experience. This is simply more Hitman. Highly replayable missions. Elusive targets are a great way to keep you coming back. Cons: still no money system, no quick save, the story is mediocre, and the story cutscenes are terrible. This is not the PS2. The story cutscenes are moving like this is PS2 era. So that's my review for Hitman 2 on the PS4. I hope it was informative. I hope it helped inform your decision on whether you should get it or not. I really enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun playing this game, and I would suggest you to go out and get it as well if you are a fan of Hitman or you're a fan of stealth games. But as I said, get Hitman Season 1. It's way cheaper. It's way cheaper, and it's basically the same game. There are new additions in Hitman 2 that do make the game a little bit better, but you can get by with Hitman Season 1, learn if you actually like the game, and then move into Hitman 2 if you're unsure. So yeah, that's the review. Thanks for watching and liking and subscribing. Let me know in the comment section down below what game you want me to review next, and let me know about your thoughts of Hitman 2 and the series and all that sort of stuff. I will see you in the next review. Peace out.
And his vault unit looks quite versatile. Internal climate control of explode. No, don't turn it back on!
Unit Cassidy is down. Good work, 47. James awaits your attention.
If you want to learn how I got over 23,000 subscribers and millions of views on my YouTube gaming channel, then you are in luck. Sign up to this free course right now. Link will be in the card, in the description, and in the pinned comment. Or go to growonyoutube.com/20k SEO course. In this course, you will learn the best way to write your video titles, tags, and descriptions to help you rank on the first page of YouTube. It's simple when you know what to do. I'll also show you a hack that will help you choose the right key phrases and help you create videos that can rank and get views no matter what game you play. Stop struggling to grow your YouTube gaming channel and start doing what works. Click on the link in the description or go to growonyoutube.com/20k SEO course. This course will not be up forever, so get in there as soon as possible. I hope to see you here soon, and I wish you the best of luck on your journey of turning your passion into your career.
It's been a cold winter and it's lasted far too long. So all this warmth I share with you.